City Morgue, the genre-bending trap metal duo that sprang forth from New York City. Although they claim they aren't trap metal, which I would kind of agree with, I feel they have more in common with punk than they do any type of metal, and their rap style isn't exactly trap either. The group consists of Zillakami, Junius Rogers, and Sos Mula, Vinicius Sosa, who is of no relation to Sammy Sosa as far as I know. To tell the story of City Morgue properly, we have to start with a bit of background on the two members individually. And unfortunately, in doing research for this, I intended to have equal parts Sos Mula and Zillakami, but there wasn't as much stuff about Sos Mula online. So I'm not trying to snub Sos. There just isn't as much. So Sos Mula, if you ever see this, go make a Wikipedia page, man, or go do some more interviews, because it seems like most of the interviews they do together, Zillakami kind of dominates, but that's okay. Zilla was born in Bay Shore, New York, which is a small suburb on Long Island, while Sos Mula, on the other hand, grew up in Spanish Harlem, a neighborhood in Upper Manhattan. In Bay Shore, Zilla spent time playing football in school, and at one point wanted to be a professional BMX rider before getting heavily involved in different music scenes. At one point, Zillakami had his home raided in New York after suspicion of having a rocket launcher in his possession. When asked on No Jumper whether that was true or not, his response was, "Yeah, it was lit." Sos Mula, on the other hand, dropped out of school rather young and focused his efforts on the distribution of crack. He also had his home raided a few times, which is not really the type of thing you want to have in common with your friends. Keep that in mind. Zilla eventually moved to Brooklyn, where he began going to punk and hardcore shows, and at some point founded a hardcore punk band of his own by the name of Scud Got Quail. I wonder who the fuck Scud is and what he's doing with that poor bird. Let the bird go, Scud. It was around this time when he began writing hip-hop tracks and ended up getting in touch with fellow New York native Tekashi 6ix9ine. His brother, who had been ghostwriting for 6ix9ine for roughly 6 years after they had met at a corner store, eventually needed help writing songs for him, and that's when he invited Zilla to help him ghostwrite for 6ix9ine as well. Zilla claims he initially agreed to do it because he had a passion for writing lyrics, but didn't believe himself to be cool enough to be the frontman. Zilla mentions that he would monologue songs in a way where it was intended to be a conversation between two people, and 6ix9ine in turn decided he was going to put Zilla on the track, and that song went on to be titled Yokai. With the success of that feature, they decided to release yet another track titled Helsing Station, and after the formation of City Morgue, the track Sinaloa was released, with Sos Mula appearing as well. The trio, however, Zilla, Tekashi, and Sos Mula, stopped associating with one another after Zillakami released a now infamous photo of 6ix9ine engaging in illicit activities with a girl who was only 13 years old, which is honestly fucking terrible, and that's why I think 6ix9ine deserves all the hate he gets. A lot of people try to give him shit for being a snitch and shit like that, but honestly, I think we should be more offended about the whole being a predator thing. That's a little bit worse. I'm being sarcastic, that is a lot bit worse. Yeah, pick your battles. Zilla later said he posted the photo in retaliation to 6ix9ine posting a video on Instagram that tried to paint Zilla as a punk and not the alternative rock kind. 6ix9ine apparently posted this video on Instagram that, according to Zilla, was just a video of him about to leave the tattoo shop that they hung out at, but 6ix9ine cut the video short, claiming that Zilla was afraid to come outside because of him, which is honestly some really petty, childish shit. In April of 2017, Zillakami went on to release his debut EP, Life is a Horror Movie, which has now been removed from stores, with him claiming that he, quote, no longer feels a connection with the music. Shortly after the release of the EP, he got into contact with Sos Mula, who was incarcerated at the time for allegedly having 50 grams of crack on him during a home raid. Apparently, they began writing letters back and forth during Sos Mula's 15-month jail stay, and only 3 days after being released, they were both in the studio together recording some of the first City Morgue tracks. The two spent several years recording and releasing singles onto different platforms, primarily SoundCloud. Sos Mula had said that they made a goal to release one song a week, and they kept to that goal. They would release a song every week, whether they were happy with the track or not. This is one of the main factors that the duo contribute to their success. In August of 2018, the pair released their first EP entitled Be Patient. Following that, on October 12th, 2018, they released their debut album, City Morgue Volume 1, Hell or High Water. Shortly after this release, their headlining tour in support of this album sold out. Not long after selling out their first headlining tour, they were invited to go on tour with the Suicide Boys on their annual Grey Day tour. They spent a little over a month on tour with the Suicide Boys before returning home to release their second studio album, City Morgue Volume 2, As Good as Dead. 6 months following the release of their second album, the pair released the mixtape Toxic Boogaloo. A year following that, they released their third studio album, City Morgue Volume 3, Bottom of the Barrel. Throughout this time, the pair have collaborated on their own solo projects with various other artists, including Denzel Curry, Josiah, Kim Dracula, Germ, Lil Uzi Vert, Puya, and Trippie Redd. According to Zilla, he's drawn influence from the game Street Fighter, Quentin Tarantino movies, Guillermo del Toro movies, Natural Born Killers, Cannibal Holocaust, and a documentary about cicadas. On top of this eclectic mix of influence, Zilla claims to have listened to the same 3 albums exclusively for 2 years. In Rainbows by Radiohead, Floral Green by Title Fight, and Hyperview by Title Fight as well, claiming that Title Fight is his favorite band by far. When asked what the pair's realest lyrics were from their point of view, Sos Mila goes into detail about how his verse for the track, then titled Float Away, which is now titled Balloons, that shit was mad real. Now Vinny used to go to school, but he dropped out. Started moving coke with some dude at his pop's house. Started moving dope, now his jewels looking rocked out. Mom's found out, now his ass getting locked out. Which describes his life up to that point and how it was selling crack on the streets of Brooklyn from his perspective. While Zilla Kami describes his realest shit as the verse off of Peeling Scabs, a track from City Morgue, Volume 2. Quote, just know life isn't easy, made my fair share of mistakes. Grandma wanted to see me, but she never got to see my face. Before she passed, I was out with my so-called friends. I play the songs to point the view. Life is just a horror movie, how it eats away at you. Which describes his grandmother passing away and wanting to see him, but he was out running with his, quote, so-called friends. Which sucks. That is kind of sad. Sometimes it can be hard to tell exactly what they're talking about if you aren't paying very close attention. I mean, especially if you're just listening in the background. But you know, those lyrics do seem to paint a pretty vivid picture of what they feel and what their childhood was like. While performing solo, Zilla Kami has released 1 full album, Dog Boy, and the EP German Dogs, while Sos Mula has released a handful of albums, including Too High to Die, 13 Songs to Die To, and Sleaze Machine, which was a joint project with the producer, Synthetic. And during the No Jumper podcast, Adam asked the pair if they had a message to the youth. Sos Mula responded saying, don't feel like you gotta live to like a certain type of standard. Do what you want. I don't got a high school diploma. I don't got a college degree. You don't gotta do that to be successful. Just do what the fuck you want. But when you do that shit, do it with passion. And Zilla expanded on that saying, do what you like, but do it to the best of your ability. If you want to be a big rapper, you gotta work. We were dropping every Sunday no matter what when we first came out, even if we didn't like the song. Adam responded by asking them what made them hustle so hard after music. Sos and Zilla agreed that they had no backup plan and that they both felt going hard at it was their only option because they didn't want to go back to trapping. Quote, it's about making a 10-year plan instead of a 2-year plan. It's about longevity. Fuck that other shit, man. The pair have had 3 videos removed from YouTube because of their graphic nature, and they've been banned on Instagram for the same reason as well. According to Zilla, it's for the culture. I don't give a fuck if I lose 1 million views. It's freedom of expression. And I'm paraphrasing this, but you have to respect the people out there trying new shit and being hella original. But at the end of the day, you have to respect there's somebody out there morphing your music on an acceptable ear. If somebody's able to take my style and make it radio friendly, you gotta respect it. There's also been a lot of rumors about whether or not City Morgue was gonna break up. And I mean, I've looked it up. There's been a couple hints at it. Zilla said that this next tour and album is going to be the very last one for him. But aside from that, there's no, hard proof. So I don't want to spread any lies. We don't know for sure if they're going to do anything else. But they are definitely doing one more album.